I'm really glad to say that within a few years, some of my dream visual novels have been translated into English both officially and by fans. Kimonanzo, White Album 2, Canon, Gore Screaming Show, Mahoyo, Suno Sora, both of them. And Toheart, but we'll come back to that one. Less than a third of Japanese visual novels have an English translation of any sort, and those that do are typically the more popular and modern works, which leaves a ton of lesser-known and niche visual novels to be mostly forgotten and not talked about by the English-speaking community. The solution to this problem is, of course, learning Japanese. But this obviously a long-term solution, a very long-term solution, and doesn't help if you just discover a game and feel the urge to read it right away. The only other hope is that maybe one day, someone smart, kind-hearted, and dedicated enough will translate the game into English, but with the visual novels that interest me the most. It's not very likely. So I'm just going to talk about some of the games that interested me, while I slowly chip away at learning Japanese, so that one day, I'll have no issue reading these games and others, no matter how obscure they are. Starting off with the Yuri work, we got Kashimashi Girl Meets Girl released only for the PlayStation 2. Kashimashi is a story about an effeminate boy named Izumu, who, after being rejected by a girl, goes to a mountain to look at nature, and gets hit by a crashing UFO. The aliens follow their law, and resurrect Izumu, but mistakenly revive Izumu in a female body. The physical change doesn't just affect her, however, as the two main heroines have to come to terms with their long-time feelings for Izumu, now forever changed by this wild situation. That's the story's original premise, but the visual novel takes place pseudo after those events. It takes place on a week-long summer trip where, now Izumu has more potential love interests to romance. Kashimashi is admittedly a little low in my dream translations list, because it already got a full world tour of a visual novel, anime, manga, and drama CDS. I've of course naturally experienced both the anime and manga. It's a little old, sun-bleached, but hey. Personally, what interests me about this game is the simple act of taking direct control of Izumu and the balancing act of the decisions I make, and how they will affect each girl. And also, because I just love Izumu as a character, and this game makes sure that she's front and center. I mean, just look at all the different clothes she wears in the game. I would love to understand Kashimashi one day, but as it stands, I'm perfectly fine off of just the anime and manga, so at least I don't have to live my life always wondering what this series would have been like. I first learned about Duette after browsing the internet archive for a copy of the tactics game called Moon, where I happened to scroll down, and laid my eyes on a certain blonde girl I hold very dearly in my heart. It was a game called Duette, and was created by Stage Nana, and if that name rings a bell, it's either because you know there are other key fan games featuring the one and Canon girls, but most likely it's because of their work in the Narcissu series. I was already ecstatic at the thought of an air fan game from the creators of Narcissu, and each new information I read kept growing and growing my need to read this. Oh, Minaji's in it too. Oh, it's about Minaji and Mizuzu interacting together. I was completely sold by then. I mean, how could I resist a fan game of my favorite key game, and of my favorite key heroines interacting together? I only found out about this game thanks to La's archive, which boasts many cool things you should check out if you're interested in these sorts of things. I would have likely never learned about this fascinating game anywhere else, so, while unfortunately all I can do is look at the very pretty artwork this game has to offer, I can't wait for the day where I can play this short and sweet game. I honestly really don't have a solid reason as to why Touji no Sato interests me so much. Perhaps the slice of life drama set in the winter brings me back to similar games like it. Maybe it's the cover art, and really the art of the whole game itself, that intrigues me. The artwork done by Pico, who has done nearly all the art for the Sano and Abira series, has a style I really enjoy. I especially enjoy the earlier artworks from that series, and since this game was made 2 years before the first Sano and Abira game, it really captures a similar charm to me. The atmosphere of this game, and its winter atmosphere and artwork I enjoy, is enough to get me in the front door for this game. Also, I am quite fond of this bowling CG. Speaking of games that interested me on almost a pure artistic level, I have Bistro Cupid. I first learned of Bistro Cupid after seeing this specific CG of Chizuru from Love Love and thinking to myself, oh, this kind of reminds me of the original's box. I can't explain it, maybe the page wall and Chizuru's green eyes or something. I then proceeded to look up original's box visual novels out of a morbid curiosity, and the first thing I see is probably not Bistro Cupid for the original's box. The cover art instantly grabbing my attention for reasons I'll explain in a bit. Bistro Cupid is probably not really a visual novel, but damn it, I am including it anyway, because I love the fun vibes it gives off. The light-hearted atmosphere, colorful cast of 13 different girls, and the whole world of the Cinnamon Kingdom gives me such simplistic earthly feelings of joy that I can't help myself. Also, while researching, I just learned that this game is on Steam, so yay. Now I have to learn Chinese. Similar to Bistro Cupid, but a little more somber, is a game called Monochrome. Released in 2004, with artwork done by Suzuhiro Hiro, known for Shuffle, Yasuga no Sori and many other things. The atmosphere in this game is so perfect for me, the way the whole game is coated in this gray lighting, seemingly for every location in the game. The moody lighting and desaturated look is beautiful to me, especially since I love Silent Hill 2, World at War, and really amateur mod maps for their use of lighting. Monochrome feels similar in atmosphere. Slice of life scenes in this kind of weather is always something I love, the way that characters would have fun in their group, while the world around them is so bleak and dull looking, and in those moments of silence, the atmosphere can quickly change the mood to a bit more melancholic. I don't know, I just love this weather, it's just something that is innately within myself to love. Other than that, the characters in this game having a gothic look just really adds to everything here. And the cover art of the game. There have been 3 visual novels, with blonde girls, Christian iconography, and angelic wings, that have made a lasting effect on me. The first being Air, which made me pretty much instantly play the game the moment I laid my eyes in that beautiful cover, and luckily it had an English translation so I could play it, and it quickly becoming possibly my favorite visual novel I have ever played. Bistro Cupid cover art giving the same feeling, but more light-hearted, gorgeous and just plain fun. And Monochrome, with this really pretty artwork, and somewhat edgy 2000s energy coming from it. And it was drawn only 2 years before Suzuhiro Hiro would draw the iconic goth anime girl. It really sometimes is the simple things that catch your interest, you know. Tokimeki Memorial is an all-time classic dating sim that has influenced countless games and whole genres, and has personally influenced my favorite thing of all time, which is Persona 3 and its whole calendar system and day-to-day life mechanics. I've played the thankfully translated into English SMED version, and I really enjoyed it much more than I thought I would. But thanks to the amazing author Sato, who covers many different dating simulation games, my ease shifted towards the sequel, Tokimeki Memorial 2. Tokimeki 2 is absolutely much bigger in scope and has a cast of characters that are all interesting to me, despite knowing only the basic info about them. Tokimeki 2 is loaded with this fun atmosphere that matches the original and maybe could even exceed it. There's all of these weird minigames and features. It's amazing. I'm very glad to say that this is the one game out of everything here that is being actively translated. It's being worked on by Tom https://x.com/retro-translator who translated the original Tokimeki into English in the SNES, so we're in good hands. I actually had a very long list of games for this topic, because second really enjoy picking out games, especially Bishoujo games, based off the art, cast and brief synopsis. But undoubtedly ranked amongst them all is one game that has enraptured me for its art, cast, music, adaptations, and its history and legacy impacting the entire visual novel scene. Toheart. If fun was a packaged product, made to target the otaku market to turn them into lifelong fans, it would be Toheart. For a quick history, Leaf in the mid-90s released a game called Shizuku and advertised it as the first in their visual novel series. Shizuku became a huge hit with Natsukage for its unique at the time usage of character sprites and strange psychological story. They followed suit with a second game called Sato, which pretty much was similar to Shizuku in tone. But their third game in their visual novel series would drop all horror and psychological aspects and instead be a slice-of-life high school romance, where you can explore different areas to meet different girls leading to their romantic ending. If it sounds generic, well, that's because this format pretty much influenced nearly all visual novels after it, and still to this day. If you want a way better explanation of Leafs and the history of visual novels as a whole, please check out Bull of Ledl's video in the history of Leaf. Aside from Toheart's undoubtable history, simply the charming artwork and charismatic cast is enough to win me over. All routes are at least interesting to me and characters all seem unique to each other, including the classic childhood friend with red hair and yellow accessory, the energetic foreign girl, an occultic magician, and a robot girl. Two of them in fact, although Sirio, very sadly does not have her own route. Even having only experiencing the anime, the chill, down-to-earth atmosphere of it made for the really serene experience that I just love. Even if the anime is seemingly a little different in tone, and most of the girls are relegated to side characters, it makes me all the more interested in playing the visual novel to spend more time with them. I've especially have an interest in Lemmy, Katon, and I mean obviously Multi, just look at her. This game is no cinematic story masterpiece by any means, but it just seems like the perfect pick-up and play and like after a long day of work, I just want to spend 30 minutes going to the arcade with one of these girls and just have fun. The specific version of Toheart I would prefer to play is the one released for the PlayStation, featuring voice acting, weird little minigames, and completely new artwork. Of course that version of Toheart is also not translated, but there now is a version of Toheart that is in English, in modern platforms, and releases very soon. I'm not as pessimistic about this remake as some others, but it really sucks that all second artwork is gone and replaced by sometimes decent looking third models, but other times, it destroys some characters. Look at poor Lemmy. As far as I know, the script isn't changed, and all roots are intact, but there's a history to this third remake thing not panning out, like Ever 17. As the release draws nearer, I slowly lose faith that maybe the original game is hidden inside some arcade machine or something, but I guess I will have to push through some bad visuals, and look at the original CG every now and then to feel happy. But despite that, my embarrassing dream of playing Toheart in English is still coming true. So I'll just have to wait and see how this new game plays out. After all, the characters are all still the same charming people they have always been, since the 90s.